Hey guys, Mark Sparks. Welcome again to the Men's Room interview series. Today's guest, Kean. So again, man, it's awesome to have you here in the interview series. And
Thank you.
I'm going to get off the top. You teach men how to dance.
That's right.
Well, first the technical aspects of dancing, and then the things that come. Why is dance important?
Well, the thing about dancing is that it's a part of our nature.
Okay.
It's just a part of who we are. I mean, dancing, in a way, you can consider it like an ancient ritual. Because through ancient time and everything, I won't spend too much time getting into that. But we're all aware that it's just in our instinct and our desire to dance. And this is the thing that I can relate to as I teach men how to dance, is that there are different aspects about it that guys have to first learn to see from a different perspective in order to make dance work for them.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean that when a guy first learns to dance, is that he has to approach it from a different perspective of himself. And so that he has to be able to let go of certain things, like his sense of pride, for example, and accept humility instead, because first of all, he's learning something new, and accept the fact that, it's gonna feel awkward, it's gonna feel out of place for him, and the more he can let go of his sense of pride and, if you want to call it arrogance, for example, because most guys, when you approach something new, you don't want to show that you don't know much about it, right? You don't want to look bad, but dancing has very little to do with that in return, because it has more to do with expressing yourself through a different part of you, or if you want to call it the emotional side of you that has to come out, and especially that because you're communicating with a woman here. You're not talking to your typical guy friend about some kind of new technology or some kind of sport game, right? So you have to be able to relate to women and understand them at this level instead,
Right.
so that she can communicate with you further.
You talk about, and I want to go back to dancing particularly and some technical things in a minute, but you said something about, you talk about arrogance and pride and letting go of that. Yeah. And I think it's a powerful point to point out, like, a lot of guys feel like humility is weakness.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. And I think a lot of guys also mix up being humble and genuine and true humility versus being a doormat and being walked upon and such and so forth. And they go, oh, well, I don't want to be walked on, so I'm not going to act like I don't know this. And you're like, well, that's not what humility is. That's being a doormat. We don't want to be a doormat.
That's right.
You know, humility, and you talk about the ego, and I know you have a philosophy about that, so I'd love to explore that a little bit. When you're talking about the ego and...
For sure. You have to, like, in the beginning of learning anything, you have to be willing to accept the fact that it's new to you, and you just have to simply learn it. And to simply admit that you don't know it yet. And so what happens is that most guys, any woman, or anybody in particular, I'm not even speaking about anyone in specific, but as a general thing, the ego is there, even though it's there to protect you in the terms of psychological meaning. It is not necessarily a useful thing. So you have to first be willing to let go of this part of you.
Right.
In order to succeed, in order to accumulate more valuable life lessons and more valuable experiences in your life.
Right. And that's the thing I always point out to people, is that the ego and this pride and this fear of looking stupid or whatever it might be, it had a place. It had its moments, its place, its importance, but you also got to realize that it's not logical, and it doesn't always transfer its importance to the right scenario. When I go on the dance floor and I start learning how to dance, I'm not going to die, if I mess up the steps learning.
That's right.
Whereas ancient man, if I went out and didn't hunt properly, I'd die because I wouldn't eat. So I think it's sometimes letting go.
That's correct too, right? Because the ego is a thing that it's a part of you that makes you afraid of making mistakes.
Right.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
Now, we carry this same sense of instinctive nature in us. and we approach something like dancing, for example, and it just totally doesn't help you there. And it rather prevents you from letting go of what you call your inhibition and your sense of pride, so that you can learn to express yourself better and not worry about what people think of you. Because this is the very important part of you, and essentially so important that women will notice about you right away when you start dancing with her.
One of the things I would also like, even just tie in as you're saying that, is the joy in the joy that comes from humility.
Oh yeah.
You know, when you let
Definitely.
go of being cool and having to be proud and having to be
That's right.
all the time, you know, it's
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
There's this kind of this like, this is a joy. And you know, because now I'm learning something new, as opposed to, man, I have to get this. Well, I'm learning something new, and each day as I practice.
For sure. And has a little advice to anybody who is taking up dancing in this sense is that when you approach dancing, just find ways to enjoy it and enjoy the interaction with the women, because that's what dancing is about. It's about your interaction and your communication in front of the lady that you're dancing with. It's not about anything else in that matter, very much. But of course, there are different purposes of dancing as well.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
But in that sense, you're speaking, you're just simply communicating with her, and you're connecting with her, and you're dancing with her to the music in that moment that is happening. So you just if you just go out there as a beginner even, and you express a lot of fun in doing so, and even though you don't know what the heck you're doing, you're stepping in the wrong place, you're stepping on each other's foot, but it is a funny thing.
Right.
Because this happens all the time anyway. And then just be willing to try new things.
Right.
Right. I mean, as a guy, first of all, when you first start to learn to dance, you're always gonna feel like you don't know enough. But as long as you take only what you know and you go out there and you just try to make it work, you're gonna figure it out, and you're gonna start to feel that. You're gonna start to see how that works for you, and how you're always gonna consistently improve onto what you do.
Right.
And don't be afraid of making mistakes, because that's your most powerful tool for learning as a human being, is that once you make mistakes, you'll learn so much more from it.
Absolutely.
Rather than trying to learn everything proper all the time.
Right. Like we always say, there's no such thing as failure. You know, it's only opportunities to learn.
Exactly.
So that's a powerful statement, right?
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to dancing, it's the same thing. And how dancing just relates to the way you do things normally and every day in your life as you go through the world.
Right.
There's a very direct reflection on you on the dance floor.
Wow. Yeah. Now, I want to get some technical spots of dancing, or even practicals. But before I do that, you just kind of talked about you and the woman dancing, and what she sees and how you're communicating. That's I know from I've heard about your powers. We have some mutual friends, so I've heard. But the power of seduction that comes in your communication while dancing, and then also the stuff that you learn or see. That is, seduction from dancing. So I guess the question is, where is the seduction in dancing, and where does it come from when you're using, seduction from dancing?
Sure, for sure. When you're looking at the aspect of dancing, for example, there are a lot of sexual elements in it. And especially if you talk about certain dances, popular club dances like the salsa, there's a lot of sexual indication, innuendo, suggestive body language that happens there, right? And even that alone, you can say is seductive. So now if you take this into perspective, and then you are dancing with the lady, what happens is that there's a deeper connection going on that makes the dance seduction take place as well. Because when you're dancing, and literally speaking, you can be just about that much closer to a lady from your face to her face.
Right.
You're that close, and you're looking directly into her eyes. It becomes a very, very intimate moment between the two of you. And that intimate moment normally occurs in private.
This is a very good point.
So now there's just so much happening as well, because of the way you're holding her. And not to say that it's not in any way that you would consider improper, because dancing allows for a lot of things to take place, whereas it shouldn't be happening in a normal situation, in public especially.
Right, yeah.
When you're out on a date. So when you're dancing with a woman and you're talking about even in the process of a song that takes only a few minutes to a few songs that takes about 5 to 15 minutes.
Right.
Of doing this is that you develop such a connection that I wouldn't even say warps time, but shorten the time span between the time that the man and the woman spends on the dance floor.
Absolutely.
That is equivalent to either the course of an entire day of spending time with a woman on a date, or a few hours, or even up to a few weeks. The moment you extend your hand, you take the lady to the dance floor, you're already holding hands with her.
Right.
And all of a sudden, when you're dancing, what happens is that her body and your body constantly come close, far away, close and far away, but never too far.
Right.
And the more time you spend on the dance floor, and of course, speaking from a perspective that you already dealt with your ego, and you're already coming from a place, and you're working through humility and learning and understanding dance, is that you become more comfortable with yourself. Mm-hmm. And you become more comfortable in the sense that you are more confident. And so all of this will basically display yourself to the lady.
Right.
And the lady will see that about you as a confident man, and that's what makes you attractive. Mm-hmm. And not just that, because you as a man who can take charge, and a man that can take charge in a relationship is always a man that's very attractive to a woman. And that's the kind of rare quality that is hard to find also.
Right.
So when you start to display this, and when you start to take the lead on the dance floor with the lady, it becomes the reason why it works, why it helps two people meet so much easier and so much faster, and cut out all this unnecessary time. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you should not go on a date, but it allows for you to go on a better date maybe, because you're already established all this connection, all this comfort on the dance floor. And the funniest thing is, it's done without even saying a word to each other.
I mean, you're keynoting and you don't even have to think about it.
That's right. Basically, you're having all this physical connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's a strange thing as well that happens, and I do notice this through my experience in dancing, is that the ones that you become most compatible with later on in your relationship, and you're dating or getting to know the person as friends and become close to them as well, is that the way you connect on the dance floor seems to have a direct link with the way you create chemistry together outside the dance floor.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, as you're saying, because you're dropping your inhibitions, because you're being who you are. You know, you can't, when you're an inch away from someone's face, you can't fake anymore.
That's right.
You know, you can't fake for 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 12 minutes. So at that point, it's like, okay, you know who I am, I know who you are. And the cool thing about dance, even as you're saying, is women are socially conditioned. You said it, women are sexual beings, and we know that.
For sure,
The cool thing about dance is social conditioning says that women can't necessarily be outwardly sexual. You know, a woman can't walk down the street and kind of, you know, it's that's not right for a woman to do. But when you get her on the dance floor and you give her a hand, you give her the ability, you give her permission, socially in an acceptable way, to come close to you,
and you lead her into it, basically, as a man.
Right.
That she needs you as a person that, you know, that can lead.
Right.
And allow for her to be open to you this way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a direct connection as well.
And that's where the chemistry, I mean, as you said, that's where chemistry comes from, because she feels safe enough to go into your arms. She feels safe enough to allow you to lead. So now she can just allow herself to be in your essence, and you can be in her essence. And all of a sudden you're making this magical, you know, as they say, oh man, look at that's magical, and magic happened on the dance floor.
Yeah.
And it's quite true.
For sure, and it is also such an important thing as well because there's an important thing that just happens all at once on the dance floor, and you are connecting so fast with the lady. Is that later on, as you continue your interaction outside the dance floor, or even if you meet up with a person later on, it just makes it so much, allows for more comfort.
Right.
For you to already connect because you already had that comfortable physical connection and an emotional connection. So the next part for you after the dance floor is that you just simply go through the process of getting to know each other and see how much you can like each other and connect with each other later on.
Right. And that's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about technical aspects or, practical application of a guy who, I mean, my move in the club is the two-step, the left and the,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So how would you take a guy from there?
Yeah.
And obviously right now we're not going to teach someone to dance se, but there's certain things, that's all I have, and because I have no confidence in moving. How would you move me along the spectrum?
First of all, be able to go out there and just have fun with it. And also understand that when you're dancing, it's much more important that you don't look so serious about it. You don't look so, well, of course you're going to look confused. You can't blame anybody for that, right?
So I can't hide it. I don't know what to do. Right?
Yeah, you don't know what to do
but
yet.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And I remember when I first went to a club, a salsa club, and that was, wow, so long ago, almost 10 years ago. And the first day I went there, I only knew how to do a simple forward and back step for the salsa, and I could only turn the lady one direction. So I would go out and I'd grab a new girl and I just keep spinning her and spinning her. I didn't understand that by spinning her too much, she gets dizzy.
They were falling for you,
yeah.
for the wrong reason.
Oh, in the wrong way, in the wrong direction, apparently, right? But I was having so much fun with it,
right?
That it didn't occur to me at all what people would think. It just didn't matter. But
and how successful were you? At that point, even though you had your basic step and your one turn, how successful were you in connecting with women at that point?
For sure. What happened was that when that happened, of course, after about 30 seconds, the girl goes, go, thank you, and she walks away from me, right? She's all dizzy and swinging a little bit. And I go, all right, no problem. I'm just trying to figure this out. So I go and I grab another girl. But by the end of that night, I'll tell you what happened is that I met two really cool girls. And one of the girls that I met as well through there, she actually became my girlfriend. And we dated for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my first salsa experience when I went out. And I've only danced for about probably 3 weeks or 2 weeks at the most.
Before you went to that first?
Yeah, before I went there, yeah.
So that's a powerful thing right there. Because,
yeah,
I mean, that's just talking about this working in application. Like, I didn't know how to dance per se. I was just learning, but I went out there with the right energy. You were having fun, and all of a sudden...
Exactly. And to expand a little bit on that, is the technical aspect of it, even though they are so important, it's not the most important thing in terms of just going out there and having fun with it. The most important thing is that as long as you can drop your inhibition, as long as you just stop worrying for a moment about what people think of you or what the girl feels about your dancing, and just put a big smile to your face and just laugh. She can laugh along with you and she can just have fun with it.
Right.
And then also to approach it from an attitude of just even being open to her and just telling her that this is new to me. I just learned a couple of steps and, can I try it on you for like half a song? Do you mind? And most of the time when you approach dancing in this sense, the lady will have absolutely no problem dancing with you because you have such a great energy to be with. And believe it or not, most of the time, even the more experienced dancers will help you out she will help you understand the technical aspect better
Yes.
about dancing, and you'll get something out of that. So don't be afraid, pretty much, and also just be willing to have fun with it.
Right.
And just go out there like that.
That's an awesome. I mean, I have similar story, so to speak, in terms of, I know when I started, I'm not a dancer per se, but when I started going out and starting to move and learning, getting out of my as I was younger, getting older, and saying, okay, I'm just going to do this. And I remember meeting a girl and saying, hey, I'm not much of a dancer. I saw you out here doing your thing, and I'm just here having a good time.
Exactly.
Can we jam a little bit? And she was like, yeah, for sure. And as we started dancing, she actually started teaching me. Dance moves. She was like, all right.
That's right.
She was like, all right, so bob your, okay, and then move your shoulder. Good, keep doing that. And then, so we were going back and forth. I was like this. She's like, yeah, okay, hold my waist here, and okay, pull me. And it was funny because by the end of the night, she was so ingrained in, like, we were so, I asked her to dance for half a song, and all of a sudden we danced this whole night, and she's just like,
you become so connected.
Right. And it was so crazy. And the other part I found about that for me was that in her helping me along, because I was humble enough to tell her, hey, I'm having a good time. I'm great with who I am. I just don't know how to do this. And she was like, oh, I do. So let's do this together. Yeah. And right away, it was just like me and her versus, whoever else. And right away, so once we created that link, so I totally can dig what you're saying in that aspect.
And also on top of that, what the guy can do when he goes out to dance, even with or without much experience, is that he's going to be approaching a lot of girls that don't have much experience either.
Right.
And she is going to worry about certain things. She's just going to worry about her step and everything. And she is going to look down at her feet and everything. And so, and when the girl is dancing and she's looking down at her feet, it's not going to help the two of you at all.
Right.
So the best thing to do is to tell the girl to try not to look down and to just tell her to look at you right in the eyes. Because there's a lot of things going on at once when you're looking at each other in the eyes. It's that you just become more connected. And the longer you stare at each other's eyes, that you can become more comfortable with each other. And not just that, if you want to talk about the technical part of it.
Please, yeah.
It's that you can, in your peripheral vision, you can see a lot more going on.
Yeah.
Versus looking down, because when you're looking down and trying not to get stepped on,
you're cutting out everything.
You cut out everything else that is the most important thing that comes from your eye contact. So I suggest for the guy to get as much eye contact with the ladies you can. And of course, not to look so serious while you're doing it. Because I get this all the time from my lady friends. Right, about some of my guy friends and students that I take out to a club, is that sometimes I advocate eye contact so much, it's that he has a serious tunnel look, right? And it's a little creepy.
It's a lot,
So put a big smile and everything, express yourself, look away sometime, and then look back. It's okay. And also to make sure that she has eye contact with you. And also, once you have that in place, what I suggest you do next, even if you don't know that much about dancing, or of course you've been dancing for a while, this is gonna help as well. You tell the girl to not to worry about it if she doesn't know her step. Let's just make up our own moves and everything. Let's just have fun with it, and don't worry, okay, just follow me, Just trust me. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but it's gonna happen, So when you have that kind of attitude at first with the girl, it helps her open up so much easier towards you.
Right.
It just lets her drop her inhibition towards you. That's the most important initial thing that any guy can do right off the bat. And also when you approach the girl to dance, and if you already know a couple of steps and everything, you can show her. You can teach her a little bit, but try not to talk so much in a club, especially about technical aspect of dancing, because there's too much distraction going on. There's loud music playing, so she's not going to be able to hear you well anyway. But instead, focus on moving her with you, and focus on moving her so that she's synchronized with you a little bit at a time, so that your body starts to respond to each other's movement. And then there's that more important, deeper connection taking place as well.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I suggest for guys in the beginning in terms of technicality and everything without further being able to go into any kind of demonstration about it.
Right. Obviously, you know, I mean, these are, that's pretty powerful, I think, in and of itself, is just the ability to, again, we talk about that leading, that eye contact, smile.
That's right.
Smiling's the best. I always think back. I remember when I wanted to get comfortable just interacting with people, I got a job in a club.
Right.
And, you know, I started doing the lowest job I could in the club, which is picking up bottles and all that stuff. And I started doing that. And, you know, I got to work my way up. But it was a great way to be able to watch and study the interaction of people. And I used to always remember watching particular guys dancing with the girls. And they had this look on their face. And it just used to kill me. And you'd watch the women, because they'd be dancing. They're like, you know, or they're staring at the girl. And they're so hard pressed in her face. And you'd be watching the girls' kind of reaction. Other girls would be like,
what's that creepy guy?
That guy,
I don't want to
that
dance
guy's
with
weird.
him.
Or they come by the bar and be like, man, that guy was great looking and he could dance, but he was weird. And then you get the other ones, which is kind of what you're saying, which they weren't great dancers. And you'd be watching them, and from my perspective, going, what's that guy doing? You know, and then still standing by the bar, hearing the girls go, oh man, oh, where'd he go? Oh, I want to dance with that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, where, you know, and you're like, and started to realize, oh, it's not so much the steps he's doing, but it is, you know, how he's doing it and that energy he brings and that, you know, that inner stuff that he has.
Yeah, it's from your own self-expression.
Right.
But that self-expression has to come from within yourself, right? And if you want to talk about a little bit about the self-expression and how you can develop that into the dance floor, well, of course, obviously, I would recommend you at least learn your basic step.
Right.
And learn all that basic stuff that you need to do for whatever dance it is, or even say for the salsa or the merengue or the bachata, which are the three main dances in the most popular Latin clubs, right? You learn to understand some of that basic first so that you just simply get it out of the way. You don't worry about it anymore. You don't think too much about it. And then you can get more to the actual interaction and communication that happens between the two of you.
Right.
And which is basically your emotional connection with her,
right?
Your physical connection and your visual eye contact as well. And through your leading her and through her body responding to your movement and your interaction. So I would suggest that the guy do this first, and then he can also learn a lot of things about himself, including his insecurities, which are the very things that prevents him from letting that other part of himself to come out, which is a great part of his personality and expression.
Right.
Right. Once he stops worrying about this part and he gets it handled, he can start to shine more, so to speak. He can start to express more and freely let go of his arms and smile at her and kind of push her away sometime. And next moment, pull her closer, hip bump her, you know, all of this stuff that happens and everything that the two people on the dance floor that can have so much fun with each other, right? So he has to learn to let go of that first, and then he will come up with so many ways to express himself on the dance floor. Because every guy, once he gets over this hurdle, he will start to find himself. He will start to go through a process of transformation even. You develop a much more deeper understanding of how important it is to not only communicate through words, but the way you say it, or the way you make your gestures, the way you put your hand on the lady, the way you hold her as you're saying things, and even the way you're holding the lady's hand, it just becomes so much refined because you just get used to doing this. And by getting used to it, you become more confident with it. And your confidence shows clearly through your display of comfort when you're with the lady and when you're on a date, and how you can hold her hands and not shake and be completely comfortable with it. And she's going to be able to sense that from you.
Right.
And when she does, that's when she can also become comfortable with you as well, because she needs you to be able to be comfortable that way.
And that's a powerful statement. I mean,
Sure.
you know, she needs you to be comfortable because she
Yeah.
can sense, you know, and
That's right.
I always try to tell guys, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
you can't fake certain things.
No,
you know,
you
I always hear
can't.
fake it till you make it, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
just make it. You know, and it's like
Yeah.
you fake trying to be comfortable. If you're on the
right.
dance floor, and I'm like, well, be comfortable,
Yeah.
be comfortable.
Sure.
Because she's thinking, why is this guy so uncomfortable?
But then again, if you take that word, even faking it, right? It's not necessarily that you have to fake anything.
Right, not at all.
Right, and of course, obviously, you can't fake good dancing. Mm-hmm. You just simply can't.
Right.
There's just no way. So
Yeah, no, I was
but
like, you teaching, it's
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
But then again, if you go on the dance floor and all these insecurities gonna show anyway, because it's the truth. You just don't know how to dance yet. But the more you do that, the more refined your body becomes, and you develop what you call muscle memory, a certain part of your body that helps you move in a certain way.
Right.
That's just more refined.
Right.
Yeah, and then you will carry that with you as you go out of the dance floor, and you go out and you interact with people in your normal everyday life. You simply come across more comfortable, and you simply make people more comfortable around you.
Right. I'm a big advocate of the physical component of bettering oneself.
Sure.
Because I feel like there's so many positive and powerful things that come from a physical discipline. You know, going to the gym or jogging or whatever it is.
That's right,
To change and transform not only your mind but your body.
Yeah.
And, you know, I want to comment, you said taking dance everywhere with you. And I think that's another benefit you get from dance is the power. Like, I mean, you have students. How many times have you seen, you know, people lose a little bit of weight, get a little bit stronger, be just more comfortable in their body? I mean, is that something that you see a lot of
All
as well?
the time. All the time. I see that transformation happens with precision. Even men or women, so to speak. Even for myself, to relate to it on a personal basis. When I first started learning dance, I used to be 200 pounds.
Wow.
And I have lost over the course of all these years about 55 pounds.
Wow.
So I actually have pictures of myself on the first day of dance, and my face was literally round. So that's one benefit already.
Right.
You not only look better, but you feel better about yourself. You're more comfortable about yourself, and you just generally feel more happier, and of course more confident, and it just brings up your self-esteem.
And that's such a comfort in your body, knowing, because I know for myself, as I started to, you know, train myself, my body with, for me, it was with weight training and you know, circuit training and such and so forth. But as you start to do this and you start to transform your body, you can take that out of your arena of practice.
Sure.
Into the world, because I feel comfortable with my shoulders. I feel comfortable with my arms. I feel comfortable with my feet. Like and so much more when I started to dance a little bit. You're like, hey, like I can, you know, I can walk with a little bit more of a, for lack of a better term, of a strut.
Oh, for sure. And you know how what they call that? Generally speaking, they use the term of how you carry yourself.
Right.
And the way you carry yourself is pretty much about how you hold your posture.
Very powerful.
How you gesture, how you speak to somebody, the tonality that you convey with people, all that stuff come across as out of the refinement that you do through the process of dancing as well.
Yes.
And yeah, of course, it starts right away when you do that and you start learning. The refining process already begins.
Right.
As you start to practice more and more.
And that's a powerful thing for us to know, that you create transformation not only mentally and internally, but because I mean, at the end of the day, all three come in together. You know, the mind, the body, and the spirit, and that's such a powerful thing that dance can help with.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. I know your specialty is Latin dance, and you know, you were talking about some of the dances that you can teach in the merengue and salsa and such and so forth. But are these principles? I go to a hip hop club,
right?
You know. Or I'm at a house music jam, and you know, I just want to do these principles because there's not per se steps, you know. So can I use these principles? Can you give me something that I can use in there?
Of course you can. Well, first of all, when you go into a hip hop place, for example, and if you want to take it from a perspective of culture, and how things are done differently. And culture basically is a portrayal of different reality.
Right.
Right. So you obviously can't just walk up to any girl in a hip hop club and say, hey, would you like to dance? It's not going to work. So, but then again, once you already have a dancing skill and ability, even in the salsa, it's much easier to pick up a new dance because you already have a background for it.
That's a good
You
point.
already have a reference of experience with it, so you understand rhythm and beat and music better. And it's not that difficult to be able to move and to pick up a few simple hip hop moves. And furthermore, what happened is that, and you probably see this a lot too when you go to a hip hop club, you're gonna see a couple of people doing salsa stuff. You know, the guy is just leading the lady and spinning it. And it doesn't matter how good he's at, but it's always different and it stands out. And often enough, when you're dancing with the girl in a hip hop club, and all of a sudden, if you can reach out, take her hand, and just spin her a couple of times, you make a difference to her reaction towards you compared to any other guy that's just simply dancing in front of her and just doing all these impressive moves. Because you're allowing her to connect with you. Not just physically, but emotionally as well.
Right.
When you do that, and it happens because you're leading her.
You're saying when you're dancing with the girl, and I think that's a powerful thing because I start to think back to, you know, when I'm at a salsa club or something, it's not so much of an issue, but I do see, and I remember again working in nightclubs, we played dance music, played house music, we played, you know, reggae, hip hop, rock, and what I'd find is a lot of times guys would dance for the girl. You know, they get in front of her and, all right, look at this move. Okay, look at this move and look at this move. And she's kind of like, each move that he does is less and less impressive because she keeps getting pushed more and more out of the weed.
It's not just that, it's actually, it becomes more intimidating too. For the girl.
Right. And that's where we go back to ego, where you're trying to, you know, show that you're great at this. All of a sudden, it's hurting your cause.
Oh, for sure.
You know, she doesn't want to know that you can handstand and head flip and all. If that's what you do,
for sure.
She wants to know that you want to interact with her, and you keep saying that. And that's a powerful thing that keeps resonating in my mind.
And since you mentioned that, really, when you're dancing with the lady and you're connecting with her, it's nothing to do with fancy moves. Nothing at all. Most people, and guys especially, when they start to learn this stuff, they always have this need, this feeling that, oh, I have to learn more moves. I want more cool moves. I've been there myself. I know. I used to go to my dance lesson week after week, and I would just keep telling my instructor, you know, you gotta teach me more cool moves. What's with all these basic, right? You know, there's not what I'm paying for eventually. I even said that. But again, I started to realize later on that it has nothing to do with it. Because sometimes when you're doing too many fancy stuff with the girl, and especially if she's not used to it, is that you end up pulling her arm and yanking her joints in a certain way.
Making it uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable and it hurts. So she just wants to be able to connect with you. That's even more important than anything else between the two of you anyway. So no fancy moves. That's fun moves.
Fundamental moves.
They would have a lot of fun. Yeah, that's most of the time that you're dancing in when you're meeting somebody anyway. That's all it takes, really. And when you go to a hip hop club, you just simply keep it simple anyway, because most of the girls there you meet, they're not being exposed to Latin dancing and partner dancing. So that you have to throw away, first of all, there's a good part even, you have to throw away all that technical stuff.
Right.
You can't get technical at all.
Just enjoy it.
That's right. Just enjoy it and just learn and know how leading work on a basic level.
I once had a coach say to me, one of my mentors and coaches was like, on the playing field, in order to be successful, you only need one thing, and that's to know yourself and be confident in your ability. Because in that case, you can always, as water, adapt to whatever comes your way. And whether that was in sport, making the right move, I didn't have to memorize 50 moves. It was just know what I can dribble, I can shoot. Okay, so now you figure it out, and that's awesome to know. Even with dance, it's if you know yourself and you you have that, you can just kind of go. I can go to this club. I can go to this club. It's just I'm enjoying the moment.
That's right. It's just again, when you say something like getting to know yourself, that's something that is so deep and meaningful. I could take hours just talking about something that I want because I love that topic. I love talking about the aspect of identity. But just to keep it short that way is that no matter where you're at in terms of your life, or even I found this in my past, whether you're even a good dancer already, or you're a total beginner, or you're somebody that is already very social, that is already very confident, and you have no problem meeting somebody new, is that dancing will just enrich you.
Right.
It will just add to whatever you have. It will never take away anything. And it multiplies the things that you already have as well. And it also helps cut out all that insecurity, and it helps you develop a better mind and perspective for learning and improving even. Because it really does help you learn to increase your focus and your attention in what we call the most important time of our life, which is the right present moment. It has nothing to do with your past or your future, because this moment right now, as you're dancing, as you're communicating and connecting with the girl, this is what will determine what happens later. So that's what it is. It's learning to be in that moment and living and making the best of that moment within yourself so that you can give it out to somebody else as well.
That's dope, man. I guess I'll take this moment to say I definitely thank you for being here.
For sure.
And enriching us with some of what you have to share. And, I'd say if you don't know how to dance, you need to find an instructor. Thanks for being in the Men's Room interview series. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Been my pleasure.
Awesome.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm Mark Sparks. This is the Men's Room interview series. We'll see you next time.